propensity to compare ourselves to other people, which leads to envy, has only gotten worse with social media.
Imagine that you could have this radical realism where you understood who you were, what you're really good at, what your strengths are, what you're not good at, what you were meant to accomplish in life. You had real, deep, clear clarity about what you were destined to create in this world. That would be incredibly powerful and liberating for you.
Everybody has an ego, everybody is delicate, everybody is insecure. But what separates people who are truly successful from those who never make it is they are able to look at themselves and be somewhat critical. Things change on the margins with time. I mean, they didn't have the internet then, they didn't have social media, they didn't have the kind of the pressures that we are facing in the modern world. But on the other hand, the human being was a creation over hundreds of thousands of years in much circumstances completely different from where we're living now. The evolution of the human brain, our whole emotional system, how we operate. And some of the fundamental things that are ingrained in our nature, as you mentioned, envy, I talk about irrationality, I talk about the dark side in human nature, I talk about grandiosity, the tendency, if we have any success, to go to our heads and to think that we're like a god, our propensity for aggression, our relationship to death. These are things very deep, 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 deep within the human animal that have not changed. Right? How can they change when it took hundreds of thousands of years to develop who we are? And in the space of 20 years, we're not going to completely rewire our brains. Some things are shifting a little bit with technology, but at the core, we can't. And so what happens is, with technology, that some of these negative traits that are ingrained in human nature, negative, I don't mean negative, they are what they are. Things like our propensity to compare ourselves to other people, which leads to envy, has only gotten worse with social media, right? Some of our tendency to be very irrational, to have our emotions kind of govern what we do, our biases, they've only gotten worse with technology and social media and how we're living inside of our phones. So, and then that dark side of human nature, the kind of aggressiveness, the kind of need to manipulate, to push people around, to assert ourselves. On the internet and social media, it's just exploded because we don't pay a price for being aggressive, it's a place where we can play out all of those dark things that are stirring inside of us and not face any consequences. So the human animal remains what it is, and it's still, it hasn't changed. I want you to look at your life and the events in your life as if you are to blame for everything. So if you go around thinking that it's the world that has kept me down, I'm not getting the success I had because of these malevolent forces out in the world, it's going to make you passive. What can I do about a pandemic? What can I do about AI or globalization or jobs being wiped out? You know, if you start whining and complaining and having a sense of grievance, it just makes you more and more passive. It just makes the world that much more difficult to deal with. So I want you to have the mindset that everything is your fault. It is up to you. It is your fate. If you have a failure, if your business goes down, if the book that you wrote is total flop, look at yourself. Now, I'm not denying that there might have been factors out in the world, other actors who were working against you, but ignore them and look at yourself. What could you have done differently? Now, let's say a narcissist, a very malevolent narcissist crosses your path and you get embroiled in their drama and they manipulate you and they do some damage to you. Your tendency will be, oh my God, complain and whine and how evil, etc. But what I'm trying to tell you in this whole arc that I'm explaining right now is, if you tell yourself, why did I fall for this person? Were there signs that I could have seen days before that they were like this? Could I have read their body language? Could I have seen through them? Could I have seen their past and see the trail of people that they have hurt and broken in the past? Why was I so goddamn naive about this? If that is your attitude, then the next time that person crosses your path, you'll have the intent and you go, aha, I recognize it. I'm not going to let this happen again. I see it in advance, and now I have control over the situation. It's much more comfortable for us to look outward and find somebody to blame. It's very easy. It's very simple. You can always find somebody to blame. It could be your parents. It could be your spouse. It can be your boss, whomever. Okay. So your ego is very much involved in this, and it can be very, very dangerous. So let's make it simple. Do you want to have power and success in this world? Are you somebody who's truly ambitious, or are you somebody who likes to talk a good talk and that's all that there is? If you really, really want power, if you want to have the ability to develop yourself, to have some self-control, to deal with all the difficult people in this world, then this is the only way to do it. So if it's natural when something bad happens, and I still do it, is to go outward and look at things to blame, But then, for me at least, a couple of weeks later, I calm down and I go through this process and I see this is how I can make the best situation. I had a stroke 7.5 years ago, and it's like just totally ruined my life the way I like to run it. And it made me aware of my own flaws, my own kind of self-critical nature. And I had to deal with myself and my inadequacies, my limitations, and work on them. Otherwise, what was the alternative? Just wallowing in self-pity? So, everybody has an ego, everybody is delicate, everybody is insecure. But what separates people who are truly successful from those who never make it is they are able to look at themselves and be somewhat critical. And if you can't do that, then you're always limiting, you're always getting in your own way.
We have to deal with so much illusion and crap in our world. When we leave university, we're filled with all of these misconceptions about people from our parents, from our peers, from just the atmosphere of being in school, what professors teach us. So we don't have a real grip on reality. And then when we enter the work world, we're usually kind of slapped. So suddenly reality is right in your face, and you don't know how to deal with it, and you make a wrong step here and there. You get involved in some kind of emotional drama. It kind of creates a wound that lasts forever. You end up going down this rabbit hole that you can't escape on into your late 20s, etc. And you started off on the wrong foot. So I try and tell people, imagine the following scenario. You have all these illusions about yourself, right? You think you're probably greater than you are. You have a bit of grandiosity. You don't really know what you're good at, what you're bad at, what you were meant to do in life, what I call your life's task. So imagine that you could have this radical realism where you understood who you were, what you're really good at, what your strengths are, what you're not good at, what you were meant to accomplish in life. You had real, deep, clear clarity about what you were destined to create in this world. That would be incredibly powerful and liberating for you. Then imagine dealing with people in your life, your bosses, your peers, your children, etc. You're walking around and you have no idea what's going on in their minds. People wear masks. They pretend to love you. They smile. I love your screenplay, Jordan. It's fantastic. While they're actually thinking, God, that guy's the worst writer I've ever met, right? So you have no idea what's going on in the minds of people, right? It's our nature. We're born actors. So imagine also you have this radical realism where you could see into them. You could actually see through the opaqueness of people and understand what's going on, not completely, but you have a better idea if they really do like you, if they really are interested in your ideas, if they are planning to help you or planning to sabotage you. Think of all the mistakes you would avoid and all the powerful forms of connection you could create with people. It would be awesome. And then finally, think about the world at large. So the world has what we call the zeitgeist, since you speak German. I'm going to use some German.
Spirit of the times.
Yeah, okay. So we have a spirit of the times, right? And this thing is always changing. It's never static, right? So you walk through life, you don't really know where the world is headed. You don't realize that in 2 or 3 years, your career is going to be hitting a wall. You're going to be downsized. You're going to be out of work. You don't know, what's the next step, what's the next move to make. And then also you start a business not realizing that that business is not, going to be viable in 6 months.
Right.
Imagine finally that you have that ability to see what's going on in the world, to see realistically the trends happening. So radical realism is the most powerful form of thinking that you can have in my world. And it's not something that's depressing. It's not, people think of realism as kind of ugly and drab. They think fantasy is wonderful and beautiful, and reality is kind of meh. But actually, radical realism is very inspiring. It's a very beautiful way of looking at the world. We humans operate on a level that we're not aware of, which is on a nonverbal level, right? So we pick those up from the other person in ways we're not even aware of, and it influences how we are. So your attitude towards life, you have an attitude, right? And I call it the way you look at the world. It's a lens. That attitude could be complex, but it usually has a single dominant component. It could be anxious. You're anxious about everything, worried. It could be insecure. People are looking at me strange. Do people like me, etc. Everything seems exciting to me. I want to explore there. I want to go there. You're very open to things, right? Okay, so when you have that attitude, it goes out in the world. People sense it in a nonverbal way, in that animal way. They feel it off of you, right? And then it makes them respond in a certain way. And so if you have that anxious attitude, you're going to create all kinds of situations that are going to feed your anxiety. It becomes what I talk about in that chapter, a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're going to find anxiety at every corner that you come upon, right? Because you're nervous, you're making other people nervous, you're supposed to take an action, you hesitate, and then it doesn't go very well because you hesitated. That makes you more nervous, etc. So you have to get the idea that you are sabotaging yourself with your attitude, right? And there have been some amazing books written on this aspect of human psychology that actually were kind of mind-blowing to me, to use another 70s expression. Sorry, man.
Oh, we still use that one.
Okay, yeah. All right. Things like the Pygmalion effect, which I hope in the next 20, 30, 40 years, people study more seriously in sciences and explain. But the idea is, in studies like teachers in schools, if a teacher thinks that the students are good and smart and deserving to go to Yale and Harvard and they're all brilliant, but never says anything about that, it's just they think it, it has an effect where the students work better, they get better grades, they're more excited. The attitude speaks to them, they feel it, right? So if you go up to somebody and you already anticipate that they're not very good, that they're not, that they're not going to succeed in life, it's going to create that feeling in them. So you have the power to make people feel a certain way by the attitude that you have, right? And think of that attitude. So there's the bad news is you are born with an attitude. There's a genetic component to it. Well, the classic example is an introvert or an extrovert. And the man who came up with that was Carl Jung, the great psychologist. He believed that there was definitely a genetic component in that people are born with a tendency to being introvert or born as an extrovert. Now, naturally, the parent will have an influence on that. But that is very deeply ingrained into you, that attitude. So that's the bad news, right? That you're born a certain way. If you're anxious, you're born with an anxious attitude. The good news is that you can change it. It's plastic. It has you can work around the edges, you can soften it, you can make it better. You're not gonna, if you're anxious, you're not gonna suddenly become this open adventure exploring type person. Okay, but you can become less anxious. You can realize that it's causing you problems, and then you can work to kind of alter this attitude, right? And so the first thing is you have to be aware of what your attitude is in life and the problem that it's causing and how it's infecting your relationships. And the second thing is to be aware of how you can take small steps to slowly begin to alter this attitude. So I tell people, for instance, who are born very anxious, and I understand that because I have a bit of that myself. It doesn't paralyze me, but for some people it paralyzes them. What I suggest is tomorrow you do something that you're not quite comfortable with. Not too radical. You're not suddenly going to go out naked in the streets running, etc., right? You're going to do something that you normally, that's a little bit outside your comfort zone. It's a little bit different from what you would normally do. Let's say that's going up to a stranger in the office or at a social affair and engaging them in conversation. Normally, whoa, I can't do that. Do it, all right? And you'll find, so explore those margins of what you wouldn't normally do that aren't dangerous. That person isn't going to kill you, hopefully, for going up to them. But try these things out. They're going to be able to, you'll see that I don't need to be so anxious. And that by being open and wanting to talk to this stranger, they started talking to me on a level I've never experienced before. It's exciting, right? So that's sort of, your attitude is like your work of art. It's something you create. You're born with it, but you can change it, is the power that you have.